running on the night train into the day. Do the song about a sweet love alone. And do the song about the night. When you do the walk of life. Yeah, you do the walk of life.
Dire Straits, the band that embraced MTV only for people to find out that they were ugly and therefore have MTV kill their career.
Mark Knopfler's a beautiful man on the inside, sir.
Somewhere deep inside. Actually, what's funny, Andy, is I trying to come up with ways I want to enter the show. I like watching old music videos. I hadn't seen that video. I forgot about all the sports stuff in it. I didn't know like that there was an Astros reference and a Rockets reference and an Oilers reference until just now while we were playing it live. That's the level of preparation that goes into this show. And I think my co-host is frozen. So he's working in a weird spot today. So we'll keep it going anyway. But we are back here on Off Day with Ballpark Nation. And Andy, he's back with us. There's a great song, Andy, called May All Your Favorite Bands Stay Together. Your I don't even know what to say because you have two song references for me going in your title today. May All Our Slumping Teams. Also, They Live in Texas, referencing the great George Strait song. Also, great Casey Musgrave song, after all. Boy, Andy, what a weekend for our collective local 27s.
I assumed we were just going to be talking about movies today.
Yeah. I mean, and you didn't even
That's
get a
how
chance
good
to
the
watch
baseball weekend went.
And you haven't even had a chance to watch the Rooster season finale yet. So we can't even talk about that, which would have taken 35 minutes.
I mean, I could watch. You could take a break. It's like 22 minutes. I could watch it right now.
You really
We
could.
can do a live watch. Let's just do a live watch.
Let's all like live watch Andy's reaction to watching the Rooster finale rather than talk about just the dismal. It's especially dismal for the college stuff. So we'll talk about that first. And we'll begin with Texas A&M, who lost their series, but most importantly, lost their starting shortstop to a broken orbital bone. I don't even know how you fix that. The only bright spot A&M is that their backup came in and hit 3 home runs over the weekend or something like that. But still,
he went 7 for 7 with 3 home runs. So I mean, he had the movie moment. Ben Royo,
or he's got Joe Espada as a manager.
One of those two things. He had that moment. It was a disappointing series in Oxford. It kind of played out the way I expected it to, and it's one of those stupid series where stats guys will tell you, looking at it without looking at wins and losses, the A&M had a great series. They outscored Ole Miss by like 5 runs over 3 games. Unfortunately, 2 of those games, the scores didn't line up in the right way. The middle game, we run ruled them like 18-5. So, expected wins and losses based on run differential don't always work out exactly in a 3-game series. This was the example of that. We'll see when the rankings come out later today. I think that A&M has put themselves in a precarious position the last 2 weekends from having a national seed. It does not damage their ability to host. I would be very surprised if they dropped that far. And there is something to be said about the margins being so thin in SEC baseball that a 6-5 loss on a Sunday game to determine a series doesn't hurt you as much as, getting blown out at home by Auburn does. Unfortunately, we did that last weekend. So 2 weekends in a row losing series doesn't bode well for maintaining a national seed unless we sweep Mississippi State. And then even then, I think it's kind of an off chance. But at this point, health for the team and just getting everybody headed in the right direction has got to be the main concern for Mike Early. They're going to make the postseason. How far a run they want to have in the SEC tournament is one thing. The more important thing is how deep a run do you want to have in the NCAAs now. So we'll see how the team reacts starting Friday against Mississippi State in Olson.
Do y'all start Thursday or Friday this week? Because I know we start on Thursday.
Either
way.
I think it is Thursday. I know they have moved the Saturday game to an 11 a.m. start just because let's get this over with.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of that because they want to because the SEC tournament turns right around. I think Texas at this point regarding the SEC tournament is at least assured a first round bye. Of course, the top 4 seeds get to pass the first 2 rounds, but we're kind of in the same spot. And it's funny because somebody yesterday, or one of the Tennessee fans I was talking to at the ballpark, and then we'll get to my trip out to Tennessee and just really how awesome it was. But said, everything's right in front of you for Texas, and Tennessee's still obviously in a really bad spot. Well, first of all, everything's not out in front. Winning the SEC is important, and they're not going to do that. So we can back off the everything's out in front of you talk. Obviously, the most important prizes are still out there for Texas and for A&M as far as trying to host at least a regional, hopefully host all the way through. But Texas is in a very similar injury situation. Adrian Rodriguez, pretty much his shoulder fell off, so he's not going to be able to play the field at all anymore. And he was only, a pretty amazing third baseman and shortstop. So you've got that to work through. He apparently can still hit. The Longhorns did at least hit this weekend. They just didn't pitch super well. I'm worried about Ruger Riojas because they moved his start from Saturday to Sunday with really not a lot of explanation why. And then he only threw 71 pitches on Saturday. So I don't know if there's an injury concern, maybe a little bit of a dead arm situation. So I don't expect to see Ruger Riojas, Luke Harrison, Sam Cozart, or pretty much anybody else that you've heard of on a weekend starting in any of the SEC tournament games. I think luckily for Texas that A&M doesn't have going for it, it'll be the opposite conversation in football season. Is Texas a much easier draw this weekend than A&M does? We've got Missouri. You've got Mississippi State, which is another top 25 matchup. So, yeah, definitely. At least you guys have it in Bluebell Park.
Yeah, it's very important at this point where the standings are. I think officially Georgia clinched on Saturday because they're 4.5 up on both of our teams who are tied for second. Both teams to guarantee maintaining a top 4 spot in the SEC seedings need to win 2 of 3 this weekend, at least. And I guess our teams are going to battle for second place, but it's really tight because there's a whole cluster of teams that have 13 or fewer losses. Like 8 of the 16 teams. And so either one of us could end up anywhere based on next weekend, second place to 8th place in the league. And eighth place puts you in a really weird place for the conference tournament because all of a sudden you're playing a lot more baseball.
Well, and I think one of the things that the conference tournament when it comes to seeding really and truly can only, I think, help you. I feel pretty confident that both of our teams, if we have first round exits in the SEC tournament, I don't know that it necessarily hurts us versus a team like Tennessee goes on a run. Maybe now they do get in. So there's that kind of thing. But like we've been trying to educate people all year about Tuesday baseball games, conference tournament baseball games are very similar. You're not, unless you need it to make the tournament, you're not going to really do your best to try to win it for as much as to the chagrin of some of our fan bases who think it really does matter. Obviously, the Texas Longhorn softball team won the SEC tournament, and I'm really excited for them and proud of them. And but I also would not have been super pissed off if they didn't really put their best foot forward trying to save things up for the NCAA tournament.
I can't remember which coach it was, but some coach. It's not that you don't try to win the conference tournament. It's that you are playing games with the idea that you're playing more games. And so it's probably the closest at that point to a college coach or college manager being a major league manager where they're not only planning their bullpen for this series, for instance, but they're planning their bullpen for the next 4 weeks.
And if you're dealing with tired arm and things like that, then you have to.
The days of, and I know this is going to be my second Coach Gus reference, but the days of somebody throwing Kirk Dressendorf for 140 pitches and then having him come back out the next day in a conference tournament, that doesn't exist. because the real goal, the real prize, if you did not win the regular season, is to get the best seeding you can in the NCAAs and hopefully ride it all the way into Omaha. That's the goal at this point for all of our teams. So it's a little bit different baseball. The hitters are still going to hit. They're still going to play your position players for the most part in all 9 innings of every game. The pitching is handled a little bit differently, and you're going to see. If you are I don't want to say casual fan, but a fan that only follows the weekend series, for instance, you're going to see guys you've never seen pitch before because all your Tuesday night guys are now available. And frankly, probably more ready to pitch in a Wednesday afternoon than your normal Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys.
Well, that is the other part of it too, Andy. You're right, though, is that tournament starting on Tuesday actually means some of your guys that pitched yesterday are unavailable just based on rest. Beyond strategy.
So for you, you're gonna see some Cade Bing action in the SEC tournament. Shout out to the Jez family, who good friends with. Their nephew plays for Texas. But it's
that's definitely something that people have to be aware of as far as what you're watching. You're not necessarily super worried about making sure that, again, Ruger Riojas going a 7th inning. You don't want to see that.
Yeah, and so if A&M's first game is on Wednesday or Thursday, depending on how they end up in the final seeding, you're probably not going to see Fresh Corn in those first 2 games just because he pitched a number of innings this last weekend. He's probably our best reliever at this point. You're going to save him for a game that means you get into the quarterfinals or means you get into the finals. Or if you're in the finals, you might not see him because you're probably pitching in a regional 5 days later. So it's just kind of the pitching is going to be monitored differently than it is during the regular season.
That's a great point too, because the metrics obviously do change if you throw some of your midweek guys and you do win those first 2 games. Well, now if you're in the championship game, you might see Riojas get the start and Kozar come in and close it out. I mean, that's obviously. Now, hey, Andy, did you know there's another team in Texas that outscored their opponents this weekend and only won one of those games?
Yes, I'm aware of this. I think I'm wearing their gear.
You are wearing their gear. So they scored, Astros scored exactly no runs yesterday, 1 run the day before, and 10 runs the day before. So that's 11 runs. And they only allowed 8 runs over the whole weekend, but lost 2 of 3, which is the most Astros in 2026 thing ever. I don't really understand. I don't know what's going on with this baseball team because now they can't hit. They're not hitting. Andy's frozen. We're having a whole thing, but yeah, they're not hitting, and it's what it tells me as far as just this baseball team is it's really collapsing at every level. And I think when you start to see the clubhouse start to really fall apart like that, Andy, it really feels like, again, we keep talking about the manager. The manager's not the hitting coach, but when I see an offense go into massive slumps, part of me has to wonder, do they go up to the bat going, what's the point anyway? We're going to give up exactly 1 more run than we score.
I think there's dramatic pressure on every guy on this roster because there are some guys that want to actually play in Houston, and they're probably not going to be part of the Houston Astros in a couple of months the way things are going. I think everybody in the clubhouse wants to turn things around, but the problem is when you get even decent pitching, and I think, in modern baseball, giving up 5 runs isn't the end of the world, but when you score 0, like we did yesterday, and I think they had 3 hits. Yeah, 3 hits. Nobody reached base or reached second base after the 3rd inning for Houston. You're just not going to win games. It doesn't matter how good your pitching is. Then you layer on top of that questionable decisions that your managerial staff is making. And I'm specifically talking about how Ting was handled yesterday. It's not a recipe for winning baseball. The pitching has gotten better. I will say that it is not the worst.
Burrows had the start we've been waiting for.
Yeah, it is not the worst pitching in the history of Major League Baseball like we were trending at some point earlier this year. but the offense has significantly cooled down, especially when you're talking about Yordan Alvarez, who we can give a pass to because he had an incredible April. But Jose Altuve, who has kind of fallen off a cliff again. And he's going to do that. That's who he is in his career. He's going to have periods of time where he hits the ball with authority and looks like the guy that we were used to seeing. And then he's going to have months where he just doesn't do anything. And that's, unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that's what we signed up for when he signed this last extension. Maybe they weren't counting on things falling off a cliff quite as quickly as they seem to have. But it very possibly also could be a situation where Altuve is playing hurt because he feels like he has to, like he did last year. So
Yeah.
there's a lot going on, but the offense has cooled down. A couple of these games this weekend and this last road trip, I don't know that they put a full major league roster out on the field, a major league 9, because I was counting like one of the games. It was you had Paredes, Walker, and Yordan Alvarez in your lineup, and then a bunch of guys that were questionable to be major league starters and some questionable to be major league roster players. So it's this. We're not quite at the point of it being a lost season, but they're 9 games under 500, last place in the worst division in baseball. I don't know how this is going to turn around or if it's going to turn around.
Yeah, and I want to get into the Tang situation because it seems like it's the story that Joe Espada has basically the mistake he keeps making of trying to push one more thing out of somebody when it isn't there, forgetting that part of his job is psychological. Part of his job is to make sure that the team is performing well between the ears. And when you're trying to stretch a reliever into a starter mid-season and he gives you 4 shutout innings, you slap him on the butt and say, good job, and hope the bullpen holds it. You don't try to get one more out of him. And then that's that inning that everything falls apart.
And the opponent this weekend did not help because for whatever reason, the Astros, they did win the series against Cincinnati last year, but that was the first time they had won a series against Cincinnati since 2012. They didn't play the Reds every year, so it's a little bit one of those, well, A&M hasn't beaten Texas in football in 45 years. Yeah, right. But there was a 10-year gap in there, so relax. But this franchise, even in the best of times, has had trouble with the Cincinnati Reds for whatever reason. You and I have sat through a couple of those series, so I remember how dreadful it is watching the rookie. God, I've lost his name now because he beat us again this weekend. Ely.
Oh yeah.
Just go off, and he doesn't seem to do it against the rest of the league. But we, welcome him to Major League Baseball with open arms and say, "Here, hit and run at your leisure."
At your leisure. He has been underperforming all year until this series.
Yep. The Reds had lost 8 in a row or 7 in a row going into the series. We beat them 10-0 or 10-1, whatever it was on Friday night. And all right, 8 in a row, they're losing. We might, be able to take another series on the road, and then promptly laid 2 horrible eggs right after that. We're going to continue to talk about the Astros because that is at its heart what this show is about. But I'm going to struggle to find positive things to talk about. And you go to the Astros main website right now, and they're talking about the positive things like Ting is stretching out.
Yeah.
That was the entire article.
The headline is Tang continues to build up toward bigger role. Well, I will say that
it would be fantastic if we were in February. That would be a great headline.
That'd be a great headline for spring. I will tell you that my boss just texted me and she said Sheep Detective was awesome. So there you go.
Sheep Detective was awful?
Awesome.
Oh, awesome. I was going to say, nothing about it looked awful.
Yeah, she said she had been excited about it and it met her expectations.
It will be. I don't know that we're going to see it in a theater, but it will definitely be on the streaming as soon as that pops up, which
it's funny because I think
will probably be in 3 weeks.
We're going to the movies on Sunday, I'm sure. And because we've got a lot of baseball up ahead, but but it's like, there's actually a lot out right now that I want to watch. So it's kind of a fun time to be doing that thing.
Yeah, there has been a little bit of a lull the last few weeks, unless you're into niche horror films and documentaries. So I'm looking forward to major releases returning to the theaters soon. And I guess starting with Devil Wears Prada this past weekend, coming out. That was good. Uh, but there'll be other brand movies to see, and hopefully some creative things coming out of Hollywood, because I want to do the trope of Hollywood has no original ideas.
Yeah. And then I get to roll my eyes at it. Yeah, I mean, Devil Wears Prada, though, kind of having the opening it had, I think is kind of, I mean, it's a bit of a risk when you think about a sequel to a movie that's 25 years old that didn't really demand a sequel, but yet it killed.
Well, it's also this. I know my vision of the production, that how producers and the money people behind films work and mentally. Well, we don't want to make a film that's geared towards women because they don't buy film tickets. Men decide who watches film. And yet this is a movie that is geared towards a female audience of a certain age, frankly. And then the younger fans who found it afterwards, and it did really, really well.
Yeah.
And you would like to think that some studio would be able to go, hey, we could do more of that. Whatever the genre is, whatever the target audience is.
Well, it's the Black Panther lesson.
Yeah. But you have, I don't know, did we have groups, hate groups protesting Devil Wears Prada 2? Because they certainly were protesting Black Panther.
They certainly did. I don't think so. I think
everybody. I'm sure there's some group of incels out there that are upset that people watch the film.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
Trying to convince themselves that Anne Hathaway is ugly.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Why do people like there is an online group of people who believe Anne Hathaway is unattractive.
I don't get it.
I don't get it at all. Apparently she's going to do Princess Diaries 3, which I'd be into that. I want to do, what was the movie she did after Princess Diaries to break away from Disney, where she was like some drunk lord's like girlfriend and there was all kinds of nudity in that movie? I'd like a sequel to that one.
Let me effort that.
Yeah, it was kind of like that movie Blown Away, not the one with Jeff Bridges, but the one with like Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and Nicole Eggert. There's a lot of Nicole Eggert in that movie.
Or Weekends with Zendaya and all those guys, where they were basically just spring breakers. Sorry, where it was all just a series of drug-fueled romps with a bunch of Disney stars and Joaquin Phoenix, I think. Or
I don't think I saw that movie. I think it was a director I don't like, which is why I didn't see it. But I did make the trip to Tennessee this weekend, and first of all, Tennessee Smokies Ballpark was just Knoxville Smokies. They have rebranded with the new ballpark, but man, just a great ballpark. It's brand new, and it's designed with the fan in mind. And I had just a great time. Although they do have one of the scariest mascots you've ever seen, Andy. He's like a mountain man. So he's all like hairy and stuff, but he looks almost too real to be a mascot. It was kind of terrifying, but very much a Cubs affiliate. So they lined right up with that.
So
and then I did
sorry, I efforted the film, not to cut you off, but I had to get to it. I had to go Anne Hathaway first nude scenes. So
okay.
My browser history is now going to be corrupted with many things. It was Havoc, 2005.
Yes.
Havoc.
That's right. And she plays like a society chick who ends up dating some like drug lord, like low level drug lord. Yeah.
And while she was probably on my radar at that point, 2010's Love and Other Drugs, where she plays a cancer patient who is trying to explain to the protagonist how the actual medical system works. Jake Gyllenhaal. It's another movie where she was primarily nude. She was primarily nude during the entire thing, which I appreciate.
Yeah. I do remember that movie,
especially in 2010. Anyway, back to Tennessee.
Yeah, no. So, and then we did go out to the University of Tennessee, and I love visiting college campuses. And I don't know if you've been out there, but it's beautiful. The campus is gorgeous, and the ballpark was really, really nice. Again, another ballpark much better than what we have at Texas. And then it's so funny to me how I'm continuously surprised by when you hang out with fans in real life versus hanging out with fans when you deal with them online, just how different they are. But I just had a great time hanging out with really and truly Tennessee Volunteer fans of all ages. But then I also hung out with an instructor for A&M ROTC at the core, and I learned a little bit about the core, Andy, and I will say that I think I'm going to stop some of my hatred towards the core. Are you proud of me for growing? I think that I've decided that I need to get over my hang up. You know, one thing I learned about the core.
What did you learn about the core this weekend, Jim?
I learned that, so pretty much, and if I got this wrong, correct me, but pretty much when they reach junior year, that's when they have to commit to whether they're going to be actual, like, go to the military after school or not. And that if they do make that commitment, that means that the Army takes over their tuition. So then if they fail out, they either have to enlist or pay the government back for their enlistment.
That is my general understanding as a non-reg, that they have to, by their junior year, declare whether or not they're going to enter the service. And if they are going to enter the service, their commission date is set, I think, a year after that. So they not only does the military take over their tuition or some portion of their tuition under the VA bill, but they're also put on a clock. So you no longer can dilly-dally like most college students can for, oh, well, I'm going to take a couple of senior years to get through this.
Yeah.
They have 12 months from that point to get finished with all of their schoolwork because they are property of the U.S. Army or Navy or Air Force or Marines, depending on which branch they chose.
Space Force.
Yeah, or space. I forget Space Force, and I shouldn't, denigrate the
Space Force, don't we, folks?
I shouldn't denigrate the Coast Guard because that's evidently a thing too. But
what's funny is if I could do it all over again, I would do the Coast Guard. I feel like you'd get more action that way.
At this point, probably you get to blow up fishing ships coming out of Venezuela.
Yeah. Oh my God! Colin Jost on SNL when he did the blow it up fishing boat.
Yeah,
fucking killed me.
Yeah, SNL was weird this weekend. I think I was expecting more, but the first part, the opening was good. The cold opening was good.
And the last sketch was great. The auctioneer sketch was of all their original sketches they've done in a while. Because that's usually where they end up missing. When they're doing something politically themed, it's an easy home run for them. But if you haven't watched the dating auctioneers, the married auctioneer sketch, that was hysterical.
I will say that knowing a little bit of the way I know the show is structured, the dating auctioneers or married auctioneers sketch was after the second musical performance. So it's a 1:15 sketch is what they call it. And it's basically the last thing that got approved to be on air, but they don't expect anybody to actually watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the sense of humor of the individuals involved and myself jibed up on this thing, but this was a really good sketch that probably deserved a better slot on the show. The good news is with Saturday Night Live in 2026 is that most people consume it on Instagram or TikTok these days. So the death of having a sketch right before the closing credits isn't quite the death that it used to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think that's the thing. We talk about SNL a lot on this show. People have these glorified memories of the cast that they love, whatever that cast happened to be. For you and I, it's a very particular cast with Dana Carvey and Mike Myers and those guys because of our age. But there were plenty of shitty sketches in every 100%. Show.
Yes.
And if you go back and watch some of the first 5 seasons that everybody considers just sacrosanct, there's a lot of just questionable bullshit. And it's not because I don't get it through the lens of my time. It just wasn't funny. They were trying stuff and they got credit for doing that.
Yeah.
But the show at its best has 5 good moments every episode. This one had 3. So that's why I think it's a little bit less.
I think part of it was like expectation, right? Like the last week I thought was kind of weak too, but Olivia Rodrigo, that's who it was, right? That was the host. I don't expect much out of her, but I expect a lot out of Matt Damon. And then to hit it out of the park by bringing back his Judge Kavanaugh and when he starts mentioning his friends like Squee. The minute he started, when he said, "I just miss some of my friends," I lost it because I knew exactly where we were going. And then to kind of have things fall apart, though I did think the movie trailer, they usually do something fun for Mother's Day. But like you said, to kind of go against their own sort of pattern by having a really strong sketch after Weekend Update and after the second musical performance was rare. I will say the other thing they did well in this episode that I don't always love it when the experts show up, but the two kamikaze dolphins that was hysterical. And mostly because I think Mario, is that his name, is a star waiting to happen on this show. So again,
they seem to hold him back more than they probably should, because he's been on the show for a while, and it feels like for whatever reason there are sometimes that he gets used really heavily in episodes, and sometimes that he's not used at all unless you're talking about him doing particular imitations of a very particular what would you call it, comedian in Maniscalco.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's got a long ramp if he wants to continue to do that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it was definitely a good again mixed episode with a lot of genius stuff. But one of the things that is funny, you and I being of a certain age, we're also very much of the cable generation. And we're going to talk a little bit about, first of all, we're obviously not an Atlanta Braves show, but the Atlanta Braves, a tough week for Braves Nation with Ted Turner dying and then Cox dying. So it's definitely been a tough thing. But I was thinking about the Ted Turner impact because, one, he's a billionaire that didn't have a lot of, his biggest scandal was he was married to Jane Fonda, which that seems like rough anyway. So we're going to give him a pass on that. But Andy, beyond just creating CNN, which, okay, so we can decide whether creating 24-hour news ended up being a net positive for culture or not.
Can we debate it?
I guess maybe we don't have to debate it that it was.
We could. I don't know we're going to debate it.
You're right. Okay, you're right. But at a minimum, still very much revolutionary. But also creating, Comedy Central, creating Turner Classic Movies, which I think now show movies from when we were in high school. So we'll forget that. But definitely Ted Turner, one of those revolutionaries in media.
Yeah. And I don't know how aware I was of a lot of things in life at the point where he was at the height of the cultural zeitgeist. But my initial thought of him when I heard that he passed was that this was a man who owned the Atlanta Braves and decided that he could manage the Atlanta Braves, and did for a couple of games until Major League Baseball said you can't, that's against some rules, I guess, which I think translates that he didn't give enough money back to Major League Baseball's kitty, or
Maybe.
He signed a free agent and they didn't want him to sign, or something. He upset the ownership group.
Major League Baseball has a way of doing that.
Yeah, but he was somebody who always struck you as kind of a rogue, a maverick, but somebody who was monumentally successful in anything that he attempted to do. We can argue or discuss the merits of CNN and what it led to, like the downfall of our country, but it was a visionary thing to take this asset of dead air, because he owned cable channels, owned cable systems, and have programming that was low cost, that he could still sell advertising to, which is another thing that led to the downfall. Having ads pay for your news is not a good path to go down. I don't think we'd do that twice.
No, I don't think we would. I did see, I think my favorite tweet about his death was that if his funeral doesn't start at 7:05, I don't even want to hear about it. Which I thought.
Yeah, that was the other weird thing, that if you lived in the cable age and you tried to watch anything on the Superstation, started 5 minutes after everything else.
It's genius, because if you're bored, I'll just
explain that to me. Yeah, explain that to me.
It's genius. You start watching a rerun of Cheers. Oh, I've seen this one. Let me flip over to the Superstation because it's only 7:05 now, and that thing is starting. But speaking of starting, we're bringing on the show Alicia Rivera. She is co-host of Ballpark Nation, and I wanted to bring on Lish. I wanted to bring you on because you are a Braves fan,
I am through and through.
Who literally went to your first Braves game not even 1 year ago, but grew up a Braves fan because of the Superstation. So talk to me a little bit about like growing up, how you even discovered like that was the team. I mean, was it you and dad watching? How did that go for you?
Yeah, so my dad was in the Marine Corps, so every time he would come home, he loved baseball. He played baseball in high school, and so we didn't have cable back then, but TBS was Channel 7 back then, Superstation. So that was our only way to watch baseball. And so anytime dad was home, my dad was really young, so he was all about like he just wanted to play the Nintendo and watch TV. Like he that was his luxury in life. So me trying to spend time with my dad was watching TV and watching baseball, and this was something that he loved. So that was like our bonding experience. So we would watch the Atlanta Braves because that was our only access to baseball. And so I grew up watching them, and that was the era of Chipper Jones, Greg Maddux, Javi Lopez.
So
We all got really see you're over there, Javi Lopez and swooning, and Andy and I like, yeah, we know those goddamn names really well.
Yeah.
You consider yourself a chop tart because that was the terminology for a lot of the young ladies that followed Chipper Jones and that group of guys.
And yeah, well, to this day, Javi still has my heart. So
it was like, and it's funny that you're on because that's the current episode of Ballpark Nation that was out of. Anytime Andy, she saw his name somewhere, it was just, it was
yes.
there was definitely swooning.
That's yeah.
But it's funny to me because just that kind of shows you the breakdown of how TV worked. It was easier for Andy and I to watch Braves games even than it was to watch Astros games. And we were in Houston just because of the nature of like, Andy, I don't remember when you were able to start watching daily Astros games.
When we moved to cable, it became a problem because I know that the Astros broadcasts move around, but it was on local television. So a lot of times in my memory, it was on 39 for a while, which is an independent station. And then it moved to channel 20, which nobody had, and you had to have rabbit ears to get. But once my parents moved to cable, we didn't have any rabbit ears. So trying to find an Astros game literally was only the several times a year we happened to play the Braves or the Cubs because they both were on cable.
Totally. Yeah.
And I think the Mets were for a small period of time too. But I remember the Cubs and the Braves primarily. So you had WGN and then TBS, the Superstation. But what became annoying because I could still go to the Astrodome and watch the Astros is all of your friends all of a sudden were Braves fans because that's what was being fed to them nonstop. And the Braves went from really, really bad in 90 to really, really good starting in like 91 for the next 15 years. So it just became this
beating a certain team in Houston in the playoffs.
Yeah, and they were our nemesis in 97.
Nemesis means you have to win every now and again, Andy. We didn't ever win.
Well, we did in 2004.
5. Chris Burke. Who, by the way,
let's go to this. From 1991 to 2004, I don't remember us actually beating the Braves in anything that mattered. And it was always really weird, too, because we had Hall of Famers on the Astros during most of this run, and Craig Biggio and Jeff Bagwell, and they would talk about how well Bagwell hit Glavine, as just an example. Bagwell hit Glavine well for the first 2 years Glavine was in the league, and then Glavine owned him. But because the numbers were so high, it just skewed down a little bit more every year until they stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
So I there was some disdain given to the Braves, but there was also a lot of jealousy, if I can, be honest about how I was feeling it from 16 to, whatever. But yeah, there's a lot of memories tied up with what Ted Turner gave us from both a broadcasting station and the Braves as they were constructed at that point.
What I think, Lish, is kind of amazing too, is the parallels with the Braves are the Cubs. But the Cubs were kind of already a national brand before WGN went wide. But the Braves really were just another team that Ted Turner happened to live next to and decided to buy. I think that really right. I mean, because you're also in media, shows you just how powerful that medium can be to basically create a fan base out of nothing.
Yeah. I mean, it's with media and with movies. And like as a kid, because I would root for the Cubs because of Rookie of the Year. Same thing with the Angels. I would root for the Angels because the Angels in the outfield. And then for the
Oh my God,
Dodgers,
Andy, she still does this bullshit. Anytime she got
hey, and it works. Okay.
It
works.
can
How
happen.
is your team doing? How's your team doing?
we're trying to avoid talking about our team.
Oh yes, yes.
That's
Yeah, and the same thing with the Dodgers. I do root for the Dodgers, except for this weekend in which the Braves swept them. Well, they didn't sweep them; they lost the first game.
Oh,
But no,
you root for the Yankees too?
No, never.
Because I was just,
Wow.
you're just hitting the soulless triumvirate of baseball.
Never
fandom
the
there.
Yankees. The Dodgers only because Benny the Jet Rodriguez, okay, from the Sandlot. That is the only time. But
So then the Twins also for Little Big League should have been.
yeah, it's
Okay.
yeah.
As long as there's a movie involved, the Astros clearly need a movie besides being the opponent in Mr. 3000.
Do you not remember the movie the Astros were featured in, the serial killer film with Roy Scheider? And it was called like Night Game or something. And there's a moment where he's driving down the road and he's listening to Milo and Rafael Ramirez. And he goes, yes, Rafael, yes. And I remember telling Jessica, like, I knew as a kid, the movie was not realistic because we didn't call him Rafael. We called him Raffy. And any real fan called him Raffy.
Well, and some people are going to show their age too because the Astros were the first pro team to get a major league movie feed towards kids in Bad News Bears and Breaking Training, where the Bad News Bears traveled to California and Enos Cabell made the crowd say, let them play because they were playing between a doubleheader, 3 innings between a doubleheader, because that's what major league players want to deal with is a bunch of little league kids. But that probably came out a decade before you were born.
I've never even
I'm only
seen,
like 20, 25.
I'm about to say I've never even seen that movie. So
I'm sorry, 2 decades before you were born. Yeah, Bad News Bears Breaking Training. I think we all need to watch this before the next show.
So Lish, how are you? I mean, so how are you able to keep up with the Braves now? I mean, I guess now it's just like it is everybody else. I mean, the Superstation, do they even still care? Does that even still exist?
No. So now Braves rolled out a Braves Vision network. It is a subscription based. For legal reasons, I cannot expose how I watch the Braves.
No one
I
watches
do.
this
I
show.
do
You're
have
fine.
like the updates on my phone, and of course, it'll like give me little updates on like notifications. But no, I do watch it on a platform.
Ill-begotten platform. Got it.
A lot of ads on that platform.
Yes, there are.
So when we were able to make it up there, though, I mean, like, talk to me again about, or like, talk to the audience a little bit about just, I mean, that immediate connection you had to have felt, because it was so, as someone who has dedicated my life to this game, and the romantic side of it is always what's key to me. I actually felt like it was a real privilege to get to be there with you through this whole experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously not the field I grew up watching, but just to be in the same, like, oh my God, these are my Braves, like, and everywhere I looked, Javi was everywhere, so that was amazing. But I feel like that was the equivalent of the first time I went to Disney World when I was 20, and I was more excited than my little brother and sister who were like 6 and 8, and I was just like pushing them out of the way. I kind of felt like that when I was there, and I apologize because I was overexcited and was hitting you because I was like, oh my God, it's another like.
Oh my God!
But it was
just workers comp
was,
against myself.
Yeah, it's my childhood. It's, you see everything around you, and it was that moment of, oh my God, I'm here, I made it. That's the only like thing I could make it equivalent to is I'm a small town girl, that this is the dream, and I'm here. And it was, yeah, it was great.
And it's crazy to me too, because one of my very good friends at work is also a Braves fan, and we were talking about this the other day, about the Braves are dealing with, in some ways, Andy, some of the same level of like injuries and questions that the Astros are. They just happen to keep winning while they're doing it, and they're winning to the clip of right now the best record in baseball. I mean,
28-13, I think.
Yeah, 28-13, and that's a record that's at least 2 games better than the closest competitor, which is the Tampa Bay Rays, which is the fact that Tampa Bay Rays, I don't know, when are we going to fire Joe Espada and go get that guy? Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. How are you feeling though, Lish, about the season going forward? And is there still some part of you though that like when playoff time comes, the Dodgers are built to win it all? Like, are you even looking at that?
Well, I mean, it's baseball, so you never know how it's going to go. Watching them with the Dodgers, even the first game on Friday, it was a good game, and it was, yes, they were losing, but I still felt like they were going to win it. Like they can come back easily, and then they whooped them on Saturday and Sunday, so that felt really good, and I'm really hopeful that they're going to make it to the playoffs and possibly even the World Series. I feel like this year that the Braves threw a lot of money out there to get the team shaped up, and I think this is their year. And I think, and call me, I am spiritual and all that jazz.
We're all Catholic here.
Yeah, we're all Catholic here. I think that this is one of those, the loss of Ted Turner and Bobby Cox. I think that's we're gonna win it for them kind of thing.
Oh, that's 100% gonna happen.
So I really feel like they got the World Series this year.
Can you imagine? I mean, no, but for real, like that's such a storybook. At a minute, yeah, that is such a.
But that's baseball. That's such a baseball story right there in itself. That's what we're gonna win it for, and so I think they've got it, and they've got these two incredible angels in the outfield.
I'm telling you. What do you think about about it, Andy? About the Braves this year?
I think even though he's gotten off to a slow start, as long as Ronald Acuna Jr. Stays healthy, the Braves are a contender. If he suffers the injuries that he's suffered over several of the last seasons, I think the Braves end up with having a problem. And like Lish just mentioned, baseball is an entirely way long season. So a lot of things can happen month to month, week to week, season to season. They're in a good spot right now. If Acuna Jr. stays healthy and gets hot, then yeah, I think everything's in front of them because they can play with the best teams in baseball. They can also lay eggs with the best team in baseball, which they managed to avoid so far this year. But, June swoons and August dog days are a real thing, so they got to battle through all that. But
do you know how many of our fans
more shot than most?
Andy, do you know how many of our fans are mad at us because we've broken all of our rules as far as not looking at the standings until Memorial Day, and like you and I already want to sell on the Astros and fire everybody, and
if
we're close enough, by the way.
If we were sitting at 500, I'd be fully willing to say, hey, a lot of things could happen, but Memorial Day is really where you could tell what kind of team you have. I have no faith this team wins 2 games in a row, much less 9 games in a row to get to the 500 mark where they could think about contending. The only thing keeping them in any conversation beyond self-loathing is the fact that they play in the worst division in baseball. We are really, really bad, and we're only 4.5 games out.
It is 5.5 now. The Braves, I mean, the Athletics. The Athletics are 2 games up on everybody, which is weird. But as we get near the end of the show, I want to go back to one of our other conversations. Well, we'll not be doing any politics today, folks. The people that are upset, there's too much. It's become
I can stay on for 15 minutes afterwards and give you some if you need it.
Yeah. But Lish, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the movie slate coming out this year, because obviously you're also in the business, and I feel like we heard that the movie Sheep Detective is awesome, and I have a feeling.
My little sister saw it and she like raved on and on about it. And so I want to see it because Hugh Jackman is in line for my hand in marriage. I think he's like number 5 right now. So I do want to see it for him. The boy can sing, dance. He's Wolverine. I mean, come on.
I do not. And those commercials he does where the whole gag is that he thinks the neighbors below him love him because he's practicing his tap dancing. I'm here for all of them. I don't ever want to fast forward through them. I mean, I feel like I think I'm a huge Hugh Jackman guy. I know Dr. Cox, Andy is not, but Dr. Cox can be wrong about some things. But
not that he would ever admit it.
Or maybe he wouldn't. Yeah. But he's the idea that he's like an old school song and dance man at heart. Like that's what he is at heart. He became Wolverine, and that was great. But I feel like he'd still be on Broadway trying to make it, even if he had never made it.
Oh, absolutely. And any opportunity that he has to go back to Broadway, he does. And the whole reason why we have The Greatest Showman is because of him, because
Yeah.
he was trying to convince everybody like this is a great show, and everyone was like, no, you're not going to get anybody. And then he ended up getting some of the biggest names in Hollywood to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And all while like battling cancer, like at the same time. And like, then he cast himself and he said, hey, I will forfeit my money and I will be the showrunner. I will be the headliner for it. And look at the success it made. And he's
I
just,
can't wait. There's got to be a stage version. Did you like that movie, Andy?
there is a stage version. There's a Broadway version of it already.
There is?
Yeah.
Breaking. Well, where were you on this, Andy? Come on.
Not really breaking, but yes. Any book you haven't read is a new book, Jim. The Greatest Showman was a great film. I had the benefit of seeing it with my daughter, who is very much into musicals, probably more than I am, and just loved it and downloaded the soundtrack in the theater. So we got to listen to the songs for many, many months without any kind of break, which was fantastic. We're also trying to figure out, maybe you two can help me. We're going to London at the end of this month, and we realize we have a couple nights off with nothing agended. So
got to go see something in the West End for sure.
Harry Potter.
Well, we're going to go to the
Everything
West
Harry
End, but we're down to the musical version of Devil Wears Prada, the first one, or Kinky Boots, which feels more London to me.
Yeah, I think I might do Kinky Boots.
I would say Kinky Boots.
Yeah, because sometimes because those the movie adaptations can sometimes swing and miss. Like I've heard like the High Fidelity musical I heard was terrible, and nothing seems like that seemed, if anything, lined up to be a good musical could have been that.
Yeah.
But I also think Lish is right. Like as much of the Harry Potter stuff as you can check out, I would.
Oh, Harry Potter stuff, yes. I'm not going to go see Lost Hollows or whatever the hell it is that is also showing on Broadway. We've already talked about my feelings on the actor portraying himself from the films in the Broadway
he's
show.
not like the fact that Draco Malfoy is back as himself.
Why? Let him have it. Okay, he was going down a bad road. This is really good for him.
To anything else in his life.
You know,
I'm
if I
sure
had
some
that
kind of
one
extra-
ticket, I would bank off of it as much as I could. I would
Same.
make my own salsas. I would make
I think
like
he's signing things. I think he's signing things at the Harry Potter store a few blocks away on Broadway. He's making his money.
I just want to see Lish's version of Draco Malfoy salsa. I don't know what that looks like, but
it
that's
would
what
have
I
like a little
want.
snake. It would have like a little rattlesnake, and so it's like spicy. When it would be the different things. And so a little rattlesnake would be like, "Ooh, it's spicy."
I like it.
Just a little venom for taste. I get it. But
There you
I
go,
like it.
venom
I
salsa.
think Kinky Boots is going to be the way to go. But yeah, there's we were talking about movies. There's so much coming out just in the next couple of weeks. I think for me, starting with Mandalorian and Grogu, I'm oddly, weirdly looking forward to The Breadwinner with Nate Bargatze, because I just found out that was a thing.
Yeah, I am too. Because I think he can actually act, right? Like he's not just a comedian. Like I think his SNL kind of proved, and it's weird, like how SNL kind of saved Ryan Gosling for me. Like I didn't like Ryan Gosling till I saw him for the first time on SNL. I was like, no, this dude's funny. Obviously different caliber of actor, but yeah, it looks funny to me. I think Nate Bargatze's hilarious, so I'm in.
And then that's rolling right into Masters of the Universe, which I'm warming up to, even though He-Man was not my jam.
Well, Jessica told me I can go by myself.
I'll go with you.
You will?
I really
drive
want to. I'm
Austin.
very excited about it.
I'll even come that direction so we can go together.
Ooh.
I'll even drive that way so I can go see He-Man with someone. I'm not seeing it by myself. You know, I'll have the power alone.
Disclosure Day, Toy Story 5, leading into Supergirl, June 26th. There's another Jackass movie, which I'm not.
No,
They're
but let
still
me just.
making movies?
I will prepare everybody.
They were all
I've
my
read the
age
graphic
doing those things.
novel.
They should not do that.
I've read the graphic novel, and Crypto does not die. Do not worry about it when you go see the Supergirl movie. Crypto makes it. If Crypto dies in this version, I might burn the theater down. So,
Well, let me tell you this about my feelings on Crypto. I don't think he dies because there's so much merch already being put in the stores, and you don't do merch on a dead dog.
Yeah, you can't do merch on a dead dog. So you're right. All right, that seems like as good a place as any to wrap us up. This has been Off Day with Ballpark Nation. I want to thank again, very special thank you to Lisha Rivera for joining us. Lish, where can everybody find you on like Instagram and whatnot?
You can find me on Instagram, Lish, LYSH_Rivera. That's River with an A.
All right. And then our new episode of Ballpark Nation is out this week with her visit to the Atlanta Braves. And then our finale's on Thursday. But we have a lot more Ballpark Nation stuff coming up for you with that. And Andy and I will be back on Friday to continue to avoid talking about the Houston Astros. Again, for Lish, for Andy, this has been Jim. This has been Off Day with Ballpark Nation.